Hey, what's up you guys? And of course, welcome to another Alternative Factuals video. Yes, this week, back to regular scheduled programming. Had a personal thing to take care of last week. Nothing like anybody died or anything like that. Just, you know, things. But anyways, let's kind of just dive into, I guess, kind of just get into the regular stuff. So, WandaVision is, of course, out of control. However, I want to talk about how this show is actually fundamental to introducing characters like Blade and also characters like Ghost Rider. So before I dive into any of that, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking, let me know what you're feeling, and without further and or possible ado, let's kind of just jump into today's video. Alright, so Blade. Well, I'll say WandaVision. Let's start off there. So what we see in episode 8 of WandaVision is that one, Agnes has fully come out to Wanda saying, hey, my name is Agnes, well, Agatha Harkness, and yeah, I also have magical powers. You know, I have abilities. I have, you know, magical abilities. Now, I'm going to break down a little bit too what exactly Wanda's powers are, because there were a couple things said in that episode that I think is important to make my point. So we already know she kind of walks through her memories. We're not going to get into any of those details, but it's something she said where Wanda already had this latent ability of probability manipulation, which is the reason why she survived the Stark missile that pretty much killed her parents, but her and her brother Pietro were still alive. So it's an ability that was actually very minuscule according to the TV show, very tiny on the radar. She would have never have noticed it. She probably just would have thought that she was maybe a little lucky or something like that, but in reality it wouldn't have been nothing that serious. But what threw her powers into complete overdrive, allowing her to manipulate and pretty much create realities of her own will, was the simple fact that she had an interaction with the Mind Stone. And everyone knows that the Mind Stone is absurdly powerful. Obviously, it was a part of creating Vision, and also part of the reason they seem to have this connection, Vision and Wanda, because the Mind Stone was what boosted her abilities, and the Mind Stone is what gave Vision life, in a sense. Where, yes, he was a creation of Ultron, Jarvis, Stark, and also Bruce Banner, but also the Mind Stone did have some input into Vision. So they had this connection. So ultimately, it boosted her supernatural abilities, because even though the Infinity Stones themselves are not technically deemed as magic, we already know that they're a source of pure energy, meaning magical beings as well can manipulate those powers, which is why we have characters like Doctor Strange who are holding the Time Stone using spells to cast time magic, but ultimately you didn't really need it because Thanos was able to do it without even casting any spells. It's just energy, just one way to manipulate a power source. So what does this have to do with what I have to say? Them introducing the witches, basically, or people who are similar to Agatha Harkness, introduces things like dark magic, the things like the Dark Hold, things that involve evil, you know, very malevolent magic into the MCU, just from a character in a fill-in series that's designed to kind of get you from point A to point B. Now, how is this relevant for characters like Blade, for example? Varney was an Atlantean who actually used the Dark Hold to create or kind of transform himself into the first vampire. And dark magic is responsible for a lot of things in the Marvel Universe as a whole, some of which is going to be, you know, responsible or kind of in response to Agatha Harkness herself, her pursuit of gaining power, but also dark magic being used by characters like Victor Von Doom's mom, also Victor Von Doom himself, and overall just the concept of Ghost Rider, Mephisto, the type of magic they use, chaos magic, and all that stuff. This ultimately will change the game because now Marvel has given us the material we needed for any other character on the supernatural end of any kind of, I guess, character or storyline to kind of exist in the Marvel Universe, and it won't even seem completely random. So if more people like Wanda or Agatha Harkness pop up, then it kind of gives them a reason to interact with Doctor Strange. But also magic, which we see has existed way before the Avengers even formed, and existed way before Wanda got her abilities, before she was even thought to be conceived. Way back during the Salem witch trials, Agatha was already performing and using magic at a really high level. So that means this is something that's been around for centuries. Magic has been around for centuries, and we knew this already in Marvel Comics. But having that level of power kind of been already circulating, the Infinity Stones, or the events of, Endgame, Infinity War, and the Infinity Saga, has only brought attention to not only the most powerful of cosmic beings and energies and powers, but also put a spotlight on the supernatural abilities. Which means when introducing characters like Blade and Ghost Rider, what we're going to start to experience more is they're going to be starting to tell more backstory on how things happened or how events unraveled even before the Infinity Saga. The Infinity Saga just served as an introductory into getting to know the characters, as well as Marvel kind of stating this is what power, or kind of a variation of what power can look like in the Marvel Universe. The Infinity Stones can be used by anyone and anything by any means, as long as you have the will and the know-how to use it. But guess what? In this vast universe, the Infinity Stones are not the only thing that grants power. There are other ways to get that power, and obviously sometimes, as pricey as the Infinity Stones were in terms of what it cost you to use them, there is magic that is far more powerful, that is far more dark, that requires a far more expensive cost to use it. And thus, we're going to get the history of a lot of things, and ultimately, we're going to get the history of pretty much dark magic in general, because once again, circling back around to the whole aspect of vampires, one of the earliest uses of dark magic was the Dark Hold, which was used by Varney, who created the vampire race. So WandaVision has introduced, at least it gave a way for them to introduce Blade into the MCU seamlessly and tie it into magic, tie it into chaos magic, tie it into dark magic, and tie it into other forms of power that require a huge sacrifice in terms of getting something in exchange for this so-called ultimate power. So this is what's really cool about WandaVision, because it's not always just surface level things you have to think about. Yes, we know Agatha was responsible for, the fake Pietro coming to the house. We know Wanda can manipulate reality. We know like there's two visions at this point now. We know all this stuff. That's surface level things that's taking place in the show. Now, the thing is, Marvel does indeed hint at things if you look deep enough. Doesn't always mean it's going to happen, but those connections are there. If you pay attention, if you kind of go back, read your comics, or if you don't even read the comics, if you just look up certain details about certain characters, tie certain things together, you can realize that there's a connection between WandaVision, dark magic, and dark magic has spawned off to create several storylines within Marvel Comics, one of which does include Blade, which is, I suppose, supposed to come out, I think, in phase 5. So there's going to be a connection here. I'm almost sure that there's going to be a connection between like Agatha, maybe not directly, but indirectly, the same time period, or her interactions in her previous, older life when she was, a little younger during the Salem witch trials. Somehow, in some way, shape, or form, what we're getting presented in WandaVision is going to be used not only during Doctor Strange, but I'm pretty sure during Blade and a couple other movies as a way to say there's other magic, there's other power out there that's absurdly dark and absurdly malevolent, and this is just, one aspect of power. The Infinity Stones are one aspect of power. Let's dive into this really dark, this really evil type of power that's been around since before the Avengers were made, since before even Captain America was born, before even, all the Avengers. None of them were alive yet, but there was a power that was still existing that's almost just as old as, I would say, the Infinity Stones. Magic is not brand new. Magic is basically energy, universal energy, remnant universal energy that's being manipulated, that also can belong to, cosmic beings who live in different dimensions, just like, the Crimson Bands of Sidorak is tapping into Sidorak's abilities. You have all that stuff. Magic is dark. Well, not all magic, but there is dark magic out there. And I believe WandaVision is, making way to introduce dark magic in order to kind of tell future concepts regarding future stories. And also this will help pave the way for the movie Blade. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you feel like I'm reaching out of control? Even though I'm pretty sure I'm not, but let me know how you feel about it. And if you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe, and I hope to see you later on. Peace out.